So do both parties see some concerns on the horizon? Senator Thayer, I'll let you start the conversation on this one. And I know you also have some thoughts about the other side on this.
Well, the primaries have been a part of the way we select our candidates throughout history. And, you know, the reason that a lot of Republican-held seats have gone without a Democrat opponent is because Democrats can't win in a lot of districts. And there are Democrat districts where Republicans can't win as well, and so no Republican filed. So, you know, there's a half a dozen or maybe 8 races on the Republican side where you see a spirited challenger, and there's probably, between the House and the Senate, there's probably half a dozen to 8 Democrat-held seats where the decision will be made in the primary, where an incumbent is being challenged by somebody probably a little more radical. There are radicals in both parties, on the left and on the right, and we're seeing that in the primaries and the way things will unfold on Tuesday. I don't think it's not going to radically change the outlook of the General Assembly or the direction of the supermajorities or the way the minority parties in the House and Senate act either.
Does lower turnout increase the odds that an incumbent in either party could lose their seat?
Well, I'll tell you this, after watching this for a number of years, it is a lot easier to win a primary in a House seat especially. You're talking about a district with 45,000 registered voters, and you get into a primary on one side or the other, and it really doesn't take a lot of votes to upset the apple cart. It's harder in a Senate district. They have different counties and regional differences, but a lot of these House districts, they're small by definition, and it's easier to win a partisan primary in a Democrat district or a Republican district if you're an outsider, because you can. It doesn't take very many people to get fired up, you know, to throw out the incumbent, and we saw that 2 years ago in Northern Kentucky, where Republican turnout, especially in primaries, is historically small.
Senator Webb, you were the only Democrat in the Senate that's not from larger cities. So how do Democrats stay competitive?
She's also one of the more reasonable ones.
Been that way a long time. and I represented a Republican district in the House for 10 years. So my disconnect sometimes with the party that way is evident. But I just represent people. And certainly what Leader Thayer said is correct. But competitiveness, again, goes back to resources a lot of times, not only individual resources, ability to raise money, and party resources. And I think that's part of the reason that party leaders like to protect the closed system, because it's control. I mean, from an analyst standpoint, that it lends control.
Referring to what Mr. Watson said, does he make a point with there being too much attention focused on the governor's race by the party and to the gerrymandering claims that are made? Do you think those are valid?
Well, the district draw is important, and when you look at a race from a feasibility standpoint, a cost standpoint, recruiting a good candidate, not everybody wants to go out and spend all the money and just end up in a bloodbath for nothing, so to speak. But I think resources have to be spent wisely in those seats that might be competitive, or you could, because low turnout does turn a wild card a lot of times. I'm in the West Virginia market. What happened in West Virginia Tuesday, it's interesting to see what the fallout from that will be, where popular incumbents that I know and have worked with in the past were beaten in their primaries.
We've got about 40 more seconds left on this, y'all. As we wrap up together, do you all feel that there is a generational shift happening with a newer generation of politician coming in to represent people?
Well, it's natural, and it's been occurring for over 200 years. There's always going to be turnover, and there certainly is a certain brand of Republican that seems a little more extreme, a little more radical, but their numbers are pretty small, and I don't see those numbers overall changing much on Tuesday.
Last word.
I just wish everybody would tell us what you really are when you put your name on the ballot.
All right.
She makes a good point. There are people running in a certain party or another, and they really aren't part of that party, but they're trying actually to upset the apple cart.
Well, we can save that discussion for another day. We'll be right back with Point of Order.
You're watching Red, White, and Bluegrass.